athlete. I had majority of my success as a sportsman, winning a grand final, playing in the World Cup for Ireland as a plant-based athlete, and it never hindered my performance once. My father left when I was around 4 or 5, so left him in debt and things like that. So obviously growing up without the male role model really influenced my initiation into manhood was a 16-year-old joining the academy, Rugby Academy, and being thrown into the academy lads, which was at the time, it was fun, I was 16, 17 and we were going out all the time, getting into trouble, fighting, things like that. I nearly went to prison when I was 18. I was just lost really. I didn't really have a roadmap of how a man should act. That had to change, and what I kind of realised was a byproduct of the suppression of not fully dealing with emotionally my father leaving. There was obviously a big change in my life when I started to delve into more introspective practices, meditation. And when I stopped eating meat as well, something weird happened. I just felt a little bit more compassionate. It's hard to explain, but I just remember feeling a bit more mentally clear. I had majority of my success as a sportsman, winning a grand final, playing in the World Cup for Ireland as a plant-based athlete, and it never hindered my performance once. It was actually interesting because at one point my strength scores went up, so that was really encouraging to see. So the nutritionist was pleasantly surprised because he didn't really think it was possible, to be honest. He thought obviously muscle mass was going to decrease, I wasn't going to be able to get enough protein, etc. Yeah, it's been a very seamless transition, to be honest. And you kind of forget now, it's just how you live. I think there is definitely a correlation between eating meat and toxic traits deemed with masculinity. And basically it comes from the macho conception of cavemen, hunter-gatherers used to eat meat. So we do that now. That's what it means to be a man. That's what it means to be strong. They kind of think there's nothing manly about buying a steak from the supermarket. I think the issue is we mistake strength with how we can use that strength over others or how physically dominant we can be. Well, I often ask myself the question of as humans, what is our role on this planet and in the ecosystem? Because it just seems like we've always kind of taken a bit more than we need to. The mass consumption of resources, the cruelty that the animals are being subject to, the way they live, that stress that they're feeling. Eating in that sense, for me, something is morally wrong. When you look at the ecosystem, when you look at roles in nature, we lack in roles in our community, in our environment. But knowing that you're a part of something, knowing that you're a part of the organism of the planet, that gives you a sense of meaning. There's definitely an issue in professional sport and with men in general in fully expressing emotions. Well, men's mental health is very important. You just look at the statistics of how often men are taking their own lives. For me, masculinity is a subtle energy we all embody, regardless of gender. Putting toxic and masculinity in the same phrase to me it doesn't fit. But I can see why people say that, but for me it's an oxymoron. Masculinity is not toxic, but there is toxic traits of men that are tarring masculinity with that brush. It's not just about mental health, it's because mind, body, spirit, it's all connected, and the body, there's the book, obviously The Body Knows the Score, it lives within us, and until you visit that, really go to those kind of places, we're not going to get sustainable change. And it's not until people have a serious health scare that they then start to appreciate the health. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to change, we've all been there. And so my thing is, I don't want to get to that point where I have to make a change. I want to make the change now and appreciate my health every day. I don't want one day to take it for granted. So at the minute I work with professional athletes, we work one-to-one groups, run retreats. The retreat's obviously plant-based, and that's just a non-negotiable. I set up my retreat specifically for men because there's a need for it, basically. My goal was to create a space for men to come, do the practices, obviously the breathwork, meditation, surfing. We do jiu-jitsu, so we have obviously more the robust and physical practice on there, but we have more of the introspective ones as well. I think it's all about unlearning and breaking down, and then once you've done all that, then we can start again and have a better relationship with everything that's coming up. Don't be swayed by the external influences. Do your own research, look into it, right? And if it's right for you, do it. Don't be put off by what other people say, what other people think. Really listen to what's going on inside. And if that is the most authentic version of themselves, they need to stick with that.